Hola! On today's DVD spot, we're going to be looking at the legacy that is Degrassi Junior High. If you ask any Canadian out there, any Canadian at, I would say around 25 to 35, what they watched when they were growing up, their number one answer would be Degrassi Junior High. Degrassi Junior High is a staple amongst many 80s kids. It's probably one of the greatest Canadian shows ever made. I don't really have too much to say. Basically, if you've watched this show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched this show, just a quick description. Degrassi Junior High follows the stories of regular kids going through high school, and topics ranged from pregnancy, what else did we have? Alcoholism, bulimia, and being a nerd, like these guys right here. Nerds right here! But, just to kind of give you a chronological order here, a lot of people remember Degrassi Junior High, a lot of people remember Degrassi High. Before this show came out, there was also a little jewel of a show, I'll bring it out right here, called The Kids of Degrassi Street. Kids of Degrassi Street was the original show brought out by, what was the name of the company? Playing with Time, I believe? Yeah, Playing with Time. And same formula as what it would later become with Degrassi Junior High. Each episode followed a kid growing up in school with the regular problems that the kids had. And one interesting thing to point out for those who do follow the Degrassi series is that some of the characters, like the three characters in the front here, I don't remember so much this guy in Degrassi Junior High, but basically all four of these characters carried over into this series as well. And it is interesting because these kids, if I'm not mistaken, grew up in public school. The series based on public school. And you had characters, I think her name was Stephanie. No, Lisa. There we go. I didn't watch the Degrassi Street as much as the Degrassi Junior High, but you had kids like Lisa, but when this show ended and then they came out with Degrassi Junior High, the same actors came back to reprise their roles, but they had different names. And I wouldn't reprise their roles because Lisa went by the name of Caitlin. The gentleman here in the back, who's looking at the girl here, in the Degrassi Junior High, he was called Wheels. In Degrassi Street, he was called Griff. Not sure why, but it is rather interesting for those who actually are into Degrassi Junior High, as I am. One interesting thing to point out is Wheels, in the back corner here, went by Griff in this series, and his brother in this series ended up being his real father in Degrassi Junior High. So again, they reused characters, they reused actors, I should say, but they gave them different names. I really don't understand why. It would have made more sense, if you want to keep a continuation going, it would have made more sense to keep the same character names, because if they've gone from public school, you could have had them go right to Degrassi Junior High, had the same names, and you would follow the characters easier. Instead, though, we get a standalone arc of Degrassi Street. When the show ended, what we got was Degrassi Junior High. I'll bring this out here. Degrassi Junior High came to us in 3 different sets, which I happen to have all 3 sets, being a Degrassi buff as I am. This set also came out in a standalone collection that contained all 3 seasons. Degrassi Junior High only did last for 3 seasons, but what seasons they were, I remember in guidance class, if I'm not mistaken, of Junior High, I remember we used to watch these, and the teachers would have us watching them because they wanted to instill good morals on their kids. But great series though, guys. Great series. I would say if anybody has not seen Degrassi Junior High, I spit in your face. But no, I wouldn't spit in your face, but I would say definitely want to check these guys out. I mean, you have every character growing up in school, every character you remember or every student you remember, I think, had a character in Degrassi Junior High that you could relate to. You had Joey Jeremiah. You know, he was the class clown and he was the practical joker. You know, you had Snake, which wasn't his real name, but you had Snake, who was trying to fit in. He was tall, all that kind of stuff. And one of the fondest characters I remember, and she unfortunately didn't make it through the whole series of Degrassi Junior High, but was Stephanie K. Stephanie K had, well, she was basically a good girl at home. When she got to school, she would get into sexy clothes, and, you know, she wanted to be the popular girl in school, and her brother Arthur here was trying to have a relationship with her, and she didn't want to pretend he was her brother because she didn't want people to know that she wasn't cool. And great series though, guys, great series. Again, the show only lasted 3 seasons. When the show ended, the kids graduated, and what we eventually got was Degrassi High. Degrassi High I remember fondly, and the interesting thing is, for what my age is, I grew up watching Degrassi Junior High at the time I went to junior high. By the time I got to high school myself, I was watching Degrassi High on TV. So I actually grew up with this series. Degrassi High did follow the same characters. So you had Joey Jeremiah, Caitlin, you had LT, you had Guy, and I can't remember his name, and you also had Spike. Yick, that was the kid's name. But you had the same characters, although obviously in junior high their problems were a little greater than trying to pass a test and everything else. In the Degrassi High series, you had issues such as abortion, you had suicide. There was a character named Claude that committed suicide, and a little touchier of subjects. There was a girl named Heather that was having a relationship with LT, and her white father was against the idea because LT was black. But great series. As much as I liked Degrassi High, though, I would say I still have a soft spot for the Degrassi Junior High series. One interesting thing also to point out is the fact that all the actors did their own hair, did their own makeup. I don't know if they picked out their own clothes, but the idea is that they wanted these kids to look like normal kids. I mean, they didn't have, you know, perfect makeup, they didn't have perfect hair, and during readings of the scripts, they would actually ask the kids, would a normal kid say this? And if the kid says, well, no, I would probably say this, well, then they would go back and rewrite some of the scripts. So, I mean, at its core, this series, I think, really personifies what growing up, especially in the 80s, what growing up was all about. And I would definitely say, if I haven't sold you on the idea yet, I probably won't. But I will say, you guys want to definitely jump on this and watch Degrassi Junior High. Again, one of the greatest Canadian kids shows ever made. Now, sadly, they've gone into Degrassi The Next Generation, which I never got into because I'm a little older now, but I still go back and I watch these on a regular basis. Definitely want to check these guys out. There's a DVD spot on the legacy of the Degrassi series. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.